What if the dramatic escalation with Iran isn't just about missiles and military strategy, but also about something Donald Trump wants to push out of the headlines? As the United States intensifies its conflict with Iran, with strikes, rising tensions, and global unrest, there are serious questions about whether this new geopolitical flashpoint is also serving another purpose: to overshadow explosive revelations in the Epstein files. If these files contain information that powerful figures would rather keep hidden from public view, the timing and focus of War Talk could be no accident. I've shared the real details from those files in this video. Watch the full breakdown and don't forget to subscribe for the truth. The political storm around Jeffrey Epstein is becoming more serious than ever. What once looked like a closed chapter is now reopening with new questions and new sworn testimony. Powerful names continue to appear, and the pressure is slowly shifting toward the highest levels of American leadership. When former presidents testify under oath, the story stops being gossip and becomes a matter of historical record. Statements made under oath carry legal consequences, and they also carry political danger. That is why every new revelation creates tension in Washington. The most sensitive part of the story is not only Epstein himself. The deeper question is about relationships, memories, and changing explanation. When powerful people begin adjusting their stories, observers start asking whether something bigger is being hidden. Political influence often shapes what gets investigated and what gets ignored. Some names receive intense attention, while others seem to remain protected by silence. Testimony has now started to reshape the narrative around Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. For years, Trump insisted that he distanced himself early and knew little about Epstein's activities. But new sworn statements are beginning to challenge that version of events. Investigators and political opponents are now asking a simple question: if one president can testify, why not another? This story is not finished yet.
No one is more uncomfortable with Bill Clinton testifying than Donald Trump. Here's what he had to say about it this morning.
Are you concerned at all about President Bill Clinton being deposed and that sets precedent for you and your family?
I don't like seeing him deposed, but, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. I don't like him. Look, I like him, and I don't like seeing him deposed.
The reaction shown here is politically important because leaders rarely show discomfort without a reason. When a sitting president reacts emotionally to testimony involving another president, observers immediately look for hidden risks. Political discomfort often reveals hidden risks. Calm confidence usually signals safety, but mixed feelings often signal uncertainty. The words sound defensive rather than relaxed, and that tone suggests that sworn testimony may create unexpected consequences. A deposition does not only affect the person testifying, it can open doors to new questions and new witnesses. Once one major political figure speaks under oath, pressure naturally moves toward others who appear in the same documents or social circle. That is why testimony can trigger a chain reaction. Powerful men fear sworn testimony. Answer can lead to another investigation, another documents who may remember events different. The relationship between Epstein has been documented through photographs, public appearances in past interviews. Trump once described Epstein as someone he knew socially, but later he minimized that connection. When past friendships suddenly become distant memories, political observers start asking why the story changed. Silence in Washington is rarely accidental. When key figures hesitate or react strongly, it often means the stakes are higher than they appear on the surface. The political risk is not only legal. Even without criminal accusations, credibility can be damaged if the public begins to believe that important facts were hidden. Presidents depend heavily on public trust, and trust weakens when stories shift over time. The biggest danger may not be a courtroom, but the court of public opinion. Every new testimony increases pressure and reduces room for political maneuvering. When testimony expands, narratives become harder to control, and control of the narrative is often the first line of political defense.
President Clinton brought up a conversation he had with Donald Trump in New York City regarding Epstein. President Clinton said that Trump told him that he had a falling out with Epstein due to a land dispute. This directly refutes Donald Trump's claims about why he fell out with Epstein.
This statement introduces a serious contradiction that could shape the entire political debate. Trump has repeatedly suggested that he distanced himself from Epstein because he disapproved of Epstein's behavior. That explanation created a moral separation and helped protect Trump's public image. However, the claim that the relationship ended because of a land dispute presents a completely different story. Truth does not change. Stories do. When two explanations describe the same event in different ways, the public begins to question which version reflects reality. Political credibility depends on consistency. Leaders can survive accusations, but contradictions are far more damaging because they suggest that the truth may be incomplete. Contradictions destroy credibility faster than accusation. Voters often forgive mistakes, yet they rarely forgive dishonesty. When sworn testimony introduces a new explanation, it forces the public to reconsider earlier statements and reassess the leader's reliability. The timeline also becomes important. Trump has said at different times that he barely knew Epstein, while public records show social interactions and shared events. A land dispute suggests a business disagreement, not a moral break. That difference changes how people interpret the past relationship. If the Sackweather then FICO concerns, then terms of distance begin to look strategic rather than since political memory is selective. Leaders alter Sackweather past relationships to fit present needs. When testimony freezes a version of its legal testimony does not depend on political convenience. It depends on what witnesses are willing to confirm publicly. Each confirmed detail reduces flexibility and increases pressure on anyone whose story does not fully match the record.
President Clinton confirmed that he knew Trump and Epstein had a close relationship and said Trump reported having, quote, great times with Epstein. Clinton's deposition is also adding to the questions about whether Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, should also testify.
The phrase, great times, carries political weight because it suggests more than a casual acquaintance. It describes a friendly and comfortable relationship rather than a distant or accidental connection. Friendship is easy to admit until it becomes dangerous. When public figures later describe the same relationship as minor or unimportant, the contrast becomes difficult to ignore. Words spoken years earlier often return with new meaning when political stakes become higher. Epstein moved within a network of wealthy and influential individuals. These connections were not random encounters, but part of a social world where business, politics, and personal relationships overlapped. Epstein's circle was not random. Many of the people connected to him held positions of financial or political influence. That reality increases public interest because it suggests that Epstein's influence extended into powerful institutions. The mention of Howard Lutnick introduces a new layer of risk. When associates of a president become part of the same story, the issue expands beyond personal history into administrative credibility. Every new testimony widens the circle. Investigators and political opponents often look for patterns rather than isolated contacts. When several individuals from the same political environment appear connected to the same figure, the public begins to see a broader network rather than separate coincidences. Political fallout grows as the circle expands. Even without accusations of crimes, repeated associations create reputational damage. Leaders are judged not only by their actions, but also by the company they keep. As more witnesses speak under oath, the picture becomes clearer and harder to reshape. The central question is slowly shifting from who knew Epstein to how well they knew him and why those relationships were later minimized. But Clinton testimony was only the beginning. The deeper tension now comes from shifting statements, defensive explanations, and a pattern that raises bigger concerns. When powerful officials first deny connections and later adjust their words, it creates a credibility crisis that spreads far beyond one individual. The focus is no longer only about who knew Jeffrey Epstein. The focus is about why certain facts were minimized, delayed, or denied. Political history shows that cover-ups often begin with small denials. At first, the response sounds confident. Later, when documents surface, the tone changes, then clarification replaces certainty. That pattern is now visible again, and the implications are serious. Trust is fragile in politics. Once it breaks, it rarely returns fully.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children.
The contrast in these words is striking. First comes total denial, then comes partial admission. That shift is not minor. It shows how public narratives can change once evidence surfaces. The truth arrived only after the documents did. When someone firmly states they were never present and later confirms they were there for lunch, the issue becomes credibility rather than proximity. Denial is often the first defense of the powerful. When denial fails, clarification becomes the new strategy. The political damage is not about attending lunch. It is about why the earlier statement was so absolute. The larger issue is behavioral. Powerful figures often minimize associations that later appear controversial. They rarely expect documentation to resurface years later. Politics is not only about legality, it is about perception, and perception shapes power.
I think the lying is one of their most remarkable aspects, and it's something I haven't really understood. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, I'm a reporter. I'm a person who is perhaps scrupulously honest and to a fault at times. But I don't understand it, especially, why you would say this when you know that there is material that could come out that would directly undercut what you said. I just don't understand it.
These words capture the heart of the controversy. The issue is not merely association. The issue is dishonesty. Lies are rarely random. They usually serve a purpose. When public figures risk their credibility, despite knowing that documents may contradict them, it suggests fear of something more damaging than the truth itself. False stories usually protect something bigger. That bigger concern may not even be criminal. It may simply be political survival. Why do politicians lie when evidence may exist? The answer often lies in calculation. Immediate denial can buy time. It can slow media attention. It can calm supporters. Strategic denial is often used as damage control. However, when denial collapses anyway, the damage doubles. First comes exposure. Then comes loss of trust. Power fears documentation. Written records remove flexibility. They freeze facts in time. Once documents contradict spoken words, the defense weakens. The pattern now visible suggests more than isolated mistakes. It shows a culture of defensive reaction. When powerful figures consistently minimize relationships with Epstein, even when records show proximity, the public begins to suspect a coordinated effort to reduce political fallout. Cover-up theories grow not because of imagination, but because of contradiction. The risk versus reward calculation becomes clear. Short-term denial may protect reputation temporarily, but if exposed, it permanently damages credibility. Leaders depend on trust more than anything else. Once that trust fractures, even loyal supporters begin to ask uncomfortable questions.
That Donald Trump had in 2006 called the Palm Beach police chief around the time of Jeffrey Epstein's initial arrest saying, hey, I'm glad you got the guy. Everyone knew what this guy was up to. And hey, Ghislaine Maxwell, she's evil. And has since subsequently for years denied that he had never ever had any idea that they had done anything wrong, that Epstein had done anything wrong.
This may be the most serious contradiction of all. If someone says privately that everyone knew what this guy was up to, and later publicly claims they had no idea, the gap between knowledge and denial becomes impossible to ignore. Knowing and denying are not the same thing. That difference creates political risk and moral questions at the same time. If Trump expressed awareness of Epstein's misconduct in 2006, it suggests that warning signs were visible within elite circles. If warning signs were visible, why did social connections continue before that point? Why were there no stronger public warnings? These questions extend beyond one individual. They raise concerns about elite silence. The biggest scandal may be what powerful people knew. The political risk is obvious. Voters expect leaders to act responsibly when they become aware of wrongdoing. Many powerful names appeared around him, yet consequences were slow and limited. That reality fuels suspicion. That influence protected reputations longer than it should have. Now the central question grows louder. Is the scandal about one criminal or about a system that allowed silence to survive? Is justice moving forward equally for all or selectively for some? The future of this issue depends on transparency. Should President Trump testify under oath like others have done? Is this about justice for victims or about protecting powerful networks? Why are some individuals questioned aggressively while others remain shielded? Is this justice or protection? I want to hear from you. Do you believe the full truth has come out? Should every name connected to Epstein testify publicly? Is this becoming America's biggest political cover-up? Share your opinion in the comments. Like this discussion. Subscribe for deeper analysis. Your voice matters in holding power accountable.